The drop came without mercy. The Galactic Academy ship Axiom Dawn floated above the gray planet like a cold eye. From orbit, the world looked calm, almost peaceful. That was a lie. The officers called it Class 3 Deathworld K-417. Heavy gravity, violent weather, unstable magnetic fields, and life forms built only to kill. It was a final test for cadets who wanted to serve in the Galactic Guard. 100 pods waited in the launch bay. Inside, each pod sat a frightened alien student, except one. In Pod 77, a slim girl with dark hair checked her seatbelts and hummed softly. Her name was Mara Khan, the only human in this class. She had joined the academy 2 years ago. The aliens still called humans soft bones. The manual said humans were average at best. Today, the manuals would meet reality. Drop begins in 30 seconds, the officer announced. The bay doors opened. The planet's roar climbed up even into space. Thick clouds twisted like angry snakes. Lightning flashed every second. The cadets could see the storm through small windows, and many began to pray in their own languages. Mara just smiled. "Looks like Lahore monsoon," she whispered to herself. The pods fired. They fell through fire and cloud. Gravity grabbed them like giant hands. Several systems failed at once. The death world did not welcome visitors. It attacked them the moment they touched the sky. Mara's pod crashed into wet red soil near a broken river. The door blew open with steam. The air smelled sharp and wild. Trees were tall and black, leaves thick as leather. Rain hit her face, real, heavy, familiar rain. Other cadets landed nearby. Reptilians, insect folk, tall blue-skinned Venari, and 2 metal learning units. The training area was supposed to be safe zone around the pods, but the storm had scattered them kilometers apart. The officers lost half of the tracking signals. They were alone for real. Venari cadet Lurax crawled out shaking. "This place is death," he cried. Mara looked around and said calmly, "This feels like home." The aliens stared at her. For them, the gravity was crushing their chests. For Mara, it was just a little heavier than Earth gyms. She moved easily, collecting a broken panel from her pod to use as roof. She knew the first rule: shelter before fear. Night came fast on K-417. The cadets built a small camp with emergency lights. The manuals told them to wait for morning briefing. There would be no briefing. The radio answered only with static and distant thunder. That was when they found the first sign. Near Pod 12, Insect Cadet Preen discovered footprints. Not animal prints. 2 clean, 2 planned, 3 claws and 1 long heel. Something intelligent had walked around the landing pods while they were busy. Native Hunter, Robotic Unit T9 analyzed. Behavior, studying. Fear grew thicker than rain. 2 cadets were missing already. Their pod were closed from inside, screens cracked, food packs untouched. The officers above the planet argued about sending rescue, but magnetic winds blocked descent. The test had turned into a gamble. Mara felt the eyes in the forest. She remembered stories from her grandfather about northern mountains, about wolves that tested travelers before attacking. This world had its own wolves. At dinner, Lurax asked her, "Human girl, why are you not afraid?" She answered in simple words. "On Earth, children camp in places like this. My mother survived floods. My father hunted boar with old rifle. Humans live with danger every day." The metal units recorded her voice for later psychology report. Midnight broke the peace. A scream cut through the camp. Reptilian cadet as escape ran in carrying a wounded friend. A long shadow had grabbed him near the river and thrown him back like a toy. The medical gel could not stop the poison on his skin. "Claws fast? Smart," the boy whispered before sleeping. The footprints now had meaning. Mara stood guard with the metal rod in her hands. Lightning showed the forest in white flashes. Between 2 flashes she saw it. A tall creature, skin mixed with fur and armor, eyes yellow, breath calm. It looked at her, not at the lights, not at the weapons, only at her. Then it disappeared. "Hunter confirmed," T9 said. Morning was supposed to bring hope. Instead, it brought questions. Pod 34 was found empty. The door was ripped open, inner wall covered with claw marks and a strange symbol drawn with mud, circle and line, like a warning or invitation. The cadets wanted to quit the test and beg for evacuation codes. The manuals had no chapter for begging. Mara touched the symbol and felt cold in her stomach. The hunter was not random. It had a plan for the cadets, maybe for the academy itself. Above the clouds, 3 unknown ships entered orbit silently, unseen by most scanners. The Deathworld had many owners. Mara looked at the rising sun through rain and repeated to her team, "Still feels like home, but home can bite." No one laughed this time. The test had just begun. End line for YouTube hook. Something intelligent hunts the cadets. Officers cannot help, and only a human girl understand the language of a death world. The camp woke to a nervous morning. Rain still tapped on the black leaves of Class 3 Deathworld K 417. The landing pods stood like wounded animals along the valley. Lights flickered, power cells running low. The cadets waited for the academy officers to speak from orbit. The radio gave nothing, only static and the long breath of the planet. Mara Khan stretched her arms and began to work. She did not wait for orders that would never come. She opened her pod storage and pulled out wire, a heat plate, and 2 empty water skins. The aliens watched her with tired eyes. For them, this world was heavy, loud, and cruel. For Mara, it was simply another hard day. Lurax approached her slowly. "Human cadet, what is the plan?" Mara answered in plain words. First, water. Second, fire. Third, safe ground. Earth rules. Most aliens had never learned Earth rules. Their species lived on gentle planets where weather asked permission before moving. K, for 17, asked no one. By noon, arguments began. Reptilian cadets wanted to form military line around the pods. Insect folk voted to hide inside metal shells. The robotic unit suggested sending surrender signal to the academy to fail the test with honor. The word honor sounded weak beside the footprints in the forest. Mara listened and felt the storm inside the students. She remembered her first months in the academy when aliens laughed at human stamina. They called her Girl of Mud. Today, mud was the only teacher keeping them alive. That evening, the planet tested them again. From the river came a low growl, deep as engines. A giant predator Vargan Type 6 broke through the reeds and charged toward the cooking group. The cadets fired training blasters. The rain swallowed the energy bolts like hungry mouth. The beast did not even slow. Gravity metal rod. Mara shouted. She ran forward and struck the creature's knee joint, using heavy gravity physics she knew from Earth martial sports. Sparks jumped from wet armor skin. The beast turned confused, not expecting pain from a small human. SSSK threw a net panel over its head. Together, they drove it back into water. Breathing hard, Lurax whispered. Weapons failed. Human method worked. The metal units updated probability charts in silence. Trust began to move. 2 cadets decided openly to follow Mara's leadership. T9 joined her as analysis support, and SSSK promised to guard her during nights. The others were not convinced yet, but they were no longer laughing. At dinner, Mara spoke about Earth survival stories. She used simple examples: camping trips, rainy football grounds, floods that broke villages, but not people. The aliens listened like children near a fire, hearing ghost tales. Ghosts were real on K for 17. Near the west pods, a strange event happened. Insect Cadet Preen received a radio chirp that sounded exactly like Academy selection codes. The message repeated only one line. Cadets adapt, cadets break, observe. Copied behavior, T9 said. Hunter learning our language. Fear returned wearing smarter clothes. Mara knew the creature respected strength, but studied weakness. It walked around the camp every night, leaving footprints closer each time. The students began to feel like lab animals in a glass box. Then another pod group arrived at the main camp. 5 wounded Venari crawled in telling horror. The Shadow Hunter sent signal and lured us out. 2 taken, pods marked with symbols. The circle and line sign was spreading like infection. Mara touched the new footprints and felt anger. She was not born to be hunted. Humans on Earth fought back even against storms and fate. The idea of HFY. Humanity fucked, you lived in her bones, though she never used the rude words aloud. The drop had changed the class. Officers above the planet finally detected the copied signal and argued that native intelligence might violate test ethics. But ethics could not land through magnetic winds. K for 17 ruled the ground. Mara planned a night watch rotation and gravity traps near the forest edge. She taught aliens to read clouds and listen to river insects. Slowly, they began to behave less like scared students and more like a mixed human tribe. The hunter answered. At midnight, it left a fresh symbol on Pod 55, mud circle glowing, with chemical light stolen from a broken screen. It was a direct challenge. Lurax asked her, "Human girl, are we prey?" Mara looked at the dark forest and replied, "Not if we act like humans." No one spoke after that. Far above the clouds, the 3 unknown ships adjusted their orbit, preparing for descent. The owners of the Deathworld were coming closer. The storm taught the class who was real leader. On Class 3 Deathworld K, for 17, fear no longer looked the same. The cadets had seen weapons fail and human hands work. They began to follow Mara Khan not because manuals said so, but because the planet respected her steps. Mara chose a small team for exploration. SSSK the reptilian moved beside her like careful brother. Robotic Unit T9 walked behind, scanning soil and air. 2 Venari twins, Oren and Lessa, carried light tools. The rest of class stayed near the main camp, building stronger shelters using panels and nets. The footprints led deeper into the valley. Gravity was heavier near the cliffs, but Mara climbed easily, remembering Earth trekking. The aliens struggled, breathing fast. Trees grew thicker, and the air tasted metallic. T9 stopped. Cave detected. Water clean inside. For first time, aliens cheered. Inside the cave, Mara showed them how to mark safe ground, how to store drywood above floor, how to read echo for large animals. She spoke in plain, confident words, and the students felt hope growing like small plant. But Deathworld plant often had poison. While returning to camp, they found another horror. Pod 34's empty door now carried new footprints and a scratched arrow pointing toward the North Forest. 2 cadets from that zone had vanished again. "The hunter is grouping us," SSSK hissed. Mara agreed. Something intelligent was shaping the test into a game only it understood. That night, she called a full meeting. She used simple English so every species translator could keep up. "We are scattered. Earth method says, stay together, read land, never follow unknown signal. From now I decide moves." Lurax, once loud critic, bowed his head. Human girl should command. HFY spirit was rising without speech. The hunter answered the meeting with silence and action. Near midnight, a long shadow crossed the emergency lights. Preen tried to film it with broken tablet. The creature allowed the filming, almost proud. Then it threw a dead river animal near the fire as message. "Psychology, intimidation," T9 reported. Mara felt strange respect inside the beast's behavior. It did not kill randomly. It tested courage like Earth wolves tested travelers. But who had built such wolf on K for 17? Morning brought partial answer. 5 cadets captured earlier escape from West Side and told shocking news. Unknown ships landing. Smuggler voices heard. Hunter called Warden guarding base. The class now had 2 enemies, planet and visitors. Mara touched the mud symbol on her pod and crushed it with boot. Humans did not accept ownership marks. She began to build gravity traps using wire and cliff stones. She taught aliens to fight in rain, to use cold streams to wash poison from wounds, to read clouds before moving. The students repeated her lessons like new religion of staying alive. During one patrol, Mara met the hunter face to face again. Lightning froze the moment in white photo. The tall creature looked at her shelter, at the wounded SSSK she protected, and did not attack. It only growled softly, almost like greeting. Behavior, selective mercy, T9 said confused. Mara answered the beast in firm tone. "You hunt children. You are not strong." The creature tilted its head, learning another human word. Children. The game board was changing. Above the planet, the Academy officers finally detected the 3 ships but could not identify them. Magnetic winds still blocked rescue. The class had to survive using only Mara's Earth knowledge and her courage. At sunset, she led the team to the discovered cave and decided to move entire camp there. Pods are unsafe. High ground near cliff safer. Most aliens followed her order without question. The hunter watched from forest edge as the class marched together like mixed human caravan. It did not stop them. Maybe it was curious what real humans would do next. The visitors were also curious. Inside orbit, the unknown ships prepared second descent, carrying cages and science tools. Smuggler Commander wanted cadets for experiments, and the Warden Hunter was their key. Mara looked at sunrise through rain and felt both hope and bite. "This is my test now," she whispered. No one laughed. The aliens believed her. The march to the cliffs changed everything. On Class 3 Deathworld K, 417, the K became new heart of the class. Shelters made from pod panels now lined the rocky walls. Water skins hung like silver fruit. The aliens felt safer, but safety on a death world was always thin ice. Mara Khan counted the cadets. 90 remained. 10 were missing or captured by the visitors. The word visitors no longer meant Academy officers. It meant the 3 unknown ships that had entered orbit with silent purpose. The escaped cadets told more details. The ships belonged to smugglers, Les explained. They use this world as hidden base. The hunter is their guard. They call it Warden. Engineered beast, not true native. Engineered or native. Its claws were real. Mara cleaned SSSK's poison wound with cold stream water. She spoke while working. On Earth, humans also make guards from animals. But good guard protects weak, not hunts them. T9 saved that line into moral file. The class decided to send a scouting team toward the smuggler base to confirm the story. Mara refused at first. She knew traps waited behind copied signals. But she also knew humans did not hide forever. HFY spirit means moving forward, she said. 3 Venari and 1 metal unit joined her. The path through the forest felt like walking inside mouth of a sleeping dragon. Footprints of Warden lined both sides, as if it guided them politely. The cadets trembled under heavy gravity. Then they saw the base. Between 2 hills stood a metal dome half buried in mud. Smuggler voices echoed from speakers. Cages carried Academy logos stolen from old wars. 2 cadets were locked inside, used for biology tests. The truth of the death world had owners. Warden appeared again behind the team. This time it did not vanish. It walked openly beside Mara, as if she was new commander. The aliens froze, ready to die. The beast looked at Mara's calm face and waited for her move. She stepped forward. "Open the cages," she ordered the smugglers through broken tablet link. The smugglers laughed from the dome. "Small human girl thinks she rules our warden." Mara touched the beast's fur-armored neck and spoke firmly. "If you are strong, prove it. Protect these children." The word children struck the engineered brain. For first time, Warden turned its head toward the dome and growled at its makers. Chemical lights on its back changed color, like angry mood ring. The aliens realized the beast was learning human loyalty. Monitoring officers above the planet finally saw this on damage scanners and argued whether the test should end. But magnetic winds still blocked them. Orbit could only watch. Ground belonged to humans now. Mara freed the 2 cadets using wire cutters while Warden guarded her like Mountain Dog from Earth Stories. The smugglers fired blasters from the door. Energy bolts hit Warden and bounced away. Engineered beast was built for storms. The team escaped back to the cliffs with rescue friends. The class welcomed them like heroes. Even Lurax admitted, "Human girl commands planet and hunter both." Mara did not feel proud. She felt responsible. She knew the smugglers would answer with more violence. Owners never liked new owners. That night the base sent direct message across the valley speakers. "Return our warden. Deliver the cadets. Or the bomb wakes." Bomb was new word in the manual of fear. The escaped Venari explained that the smugglers had placed a planet-kill device under the dome to erase evidence if discovered. The device was tied to Warden control codes. The test had become a war story. Mara looked at the mud symbols glowing on the pods and crushed another one with boot. Humans do not trade lives, she said. HFY spirit now a clear voice. Far above the clouds, the three ships adjusted orbit again, preparing full landing force. The owners were coming for their hunter, and for the human girl who had stolen its loyalty. Mara stood near cave entrance, watching rain, and footprints mixing together. Home can bite, she whispered, but humans bite back. No one laughed this time. The threat of the bomb hung over the valley like a second storm. In the cliff cave of Class 3 Deathworld K, 417, Mara Khan drew lines on the ground with a small stick. Around her sat the mixed alien class, reptilians, Venari, insect folk, and the metal units. No one spoke loudly anymore. They had learned that noise invited claws. Mara talked in plain words. Smugglers believe fear will control us. Earth history says the opposite. Fear wakes courage. Cadet and Escape watched the cave mouth, where Warden rested. The engineer hunter looked less like enemy now. It brought them dead with its sunset and chased small predators away. The aliens still did not trust it fully, but they trusted Mara. Lurax asked, "How can we stop Planet Bomb without Academy help?" Mara pointed at the drawing. "We use gravity, rain, and teamwork. The smugglers fight with machines. We fight like humans. Humans on Earth use storms as shields. K-417 had biggest shields in the galaxy. The plan was simple, but dangerous. First step, build heavy traps near the smuggler dome to block their landing force from the three ships. Second step, sneak inside during magnetic winds when scanners went blind. Third step, cut the control line between Warden and the bomb. More steps bring more chances to fail, T9 said. On Earth we call it learning by doing, Mara replied. The class began to prepare. They carried pod panels through rain, setting them upright in the mud to act as walls. Wire from broken tablets became ropes. Insect cadets mixed chemicals from forest plants to make glowing paste for night signals that only they could read. The aliens were slowly turning into a human-style tribe. HFY spirit was spreading without using the rude letters. Mara chose 20 cadets for the rescue team. At sunset, they marched toward the North Forest. Gravity pulled at their legs, but hope pushed harder. Warden walked ahead of them, following Mara's earlier footprints as if reading her diary in soil. Near the dome, the first trap worked. A smuggler patrol vehicle slid into a gravity pit made from loose cliff stones. The machine flipped like slow fish. The cadets dragged the stunned driver out and tied him with wire. For first time, the aliens felt they were not prey. Humans changed the game, Lessa whispered. The intelligent hunter changed it further. Warden broke the dome outer door with one powerful strike after seeing Mara protect the captured driver from drowning rain. The beast was learning that protection included even enemies. Aliens stared at this new lesson called human mercy. Inside the dome, the air was dry and cold. Screens showed the three ships preparing full landing force with cages and science tools. The smugglers wanted the cadets back more than the bomb. Cadets were valuable. Planets were cheap. Mara led the team through narrow tunnels. The bomb chamber waited under the main hall. Thick metal walls guarded it. A single glowing control rod linked to Warden's collar codes. If that rod was cut, the bomb would sleep again. But the chamber was also trapped. Smuggler Commander appeared on a screen. Human girl thinks she is hero. Deliver Warden and leave with life. Mara answered firmly. On Earth we do not deliver friends. The word friends touched the class hearts. The alien stood taller despite gravity. SSSK raised his claws. Even Lurax, once coward, pointed blaster though he knew it might fail. They were copying humans now, and copying felt good. The smugglers opened fire from a hall. Energy bolts jumped around the tunnel like angry insects. Rain leaked from cracks, making the floor slippery. 2 cadets were wounded at once. Mara dragged the behind panels and shouted, "Warden, protect children!" The engineered hunter charged. It crossed the hall ignoring blasters, and smashed the shooters aside. The aliens used the chaos to rush toward the bomb chamber. Mara reached the control rod and began to cut the wire with shaking hands. Magnetic winds rising, T9 warned, landing force descending. Time was running like fast river. Mara remembered her father repairing old generators during floods. One wrong cut could kill whole city. Today, whole class was her city. The aliens guarded the door while she worked. SSSK fought 2 smugglers with a metal panel-like shield. Insect cadets sprayed glowing paste to confuse scanners. The class was no longer students. They were characters inside a future Reddit legend. Mara finally cut the line. The bomb lights faded from red to dead blue. The speakers across the valley went silent. For a short moment, even the rain sounded softer. But victory was only half-page. The 3 ships broke through clouds and landed troops around the dome. Owners were arriving angry and armed. The class heard new footsteps, many boots, many machines. Mara looked at her team and said, "Rescue not finished. Humans never leave story in middle." No one laughed this time either. Warden stood beside her facing the landing force, ready to choose between its makers and the human girl who had taught it mercy. The game was moving toward final part. The landing force arrived like iron rain. Troops from the 3 ships spread around the Smuggler dome on Class 3 Deathworld K-417. Their armor was thick, their machines new, and their hearts cold. Above the valley, the magnetic winds still twisted the sky, blocking Academy rescue pods. The class in the cliff cave could only watch the owners of the Deathworld take positions. Mara Khan stood at the cave mouth with her small tribe behind her. 90 cadets waited for her words. Warden, the engineer Hunter, rested beside her, body scarred by blaster burns but spirit awake. The aliens were still afraid, yet they did not run. Running was old habit. Mara had given them new habit called staying together. "Human girl," a loudspeaker shouted from the dome. "Return the warden and surrender the cadets." SSSK hissed angrily. Lessa grabbed her brother's arm. Lurax looked at Mara, waiting. Mara answered in calm, plain English. "We will not trade lives. You leave this planet." The troop commander did not like that answer. Owners never liked new voices. The Academy officers finally regained visual contact from orbit. Screens inside the pods began to glow again, showing the standoff. The officers argued that the test had become illegal operation, but until winds calmed, orbit was only audience for a real war. Troops moved toward the cliffs with cages. Their plan was simple. Capture the human leader first, break the class morale, then take the rest easily. The manuals of smugglers also had chapters about breaking morale. Mara gathered the rescue team for last stand. She spoke quickly. Earth method. Hit their movement, not their armor. Use gravity pits we built. Use rain. Protect each other. The aliens repeated, "Protect children," remembering the lesson that had turned Warden loyal. The first clash began near the forest edge. A troop vehicle slid into the old gravity trap and exploded under its own weight. Magnetic winds confused their scanners, and insect cadets sprayed glowing paste across rocks to blind helmet cameras. The landing force realized the class had learned too much from one human girl. Warden charged ahead roaring. It smashed 2 cages and freed captured cadets at once. The troops fired heavy blasters, but the beast was built for storms. Mara ran behind it, using pod panel-like shield, pulling the frightened students out of the mud. Humans protect even aliens. Lurax shouted, no longer ashamed. The loud contrast of the story reached orbit, and the officers recorded every second for future Reddit archives. But the smugglers still held one card. Inside the dome, the commander activated the planet kill bomb again using backup core. The lights under the hall turned red once more, and the valley speakers woke with angry voice. "Leave, or the planet dies," the commander warned. The aliens in the cave trembled. A planet could not be fought with sticks. Mara refused to finish the story in fear. She remembered the manuals were written by people who never lived on Earth. Earth people faced bombs, earthquakes, and floods and still chose to act. "We end the bomb for real," she said. With 10 cadets in T9, she rushed toward the dome during strongest magnetic gust. The troops tried to follow, but gravity pits blocked their path. The class guarded the cliffs, fighting the landing force like mixed human tribe. Inside the tunnels, Mara found a chamber again. The bomb looked bigger now, glowing like small evil sun. The control rod was cut already, but the backup core ignored the cut. T9 scanned quickly. Design origin, old Terran War model. The unit said. The officers on orbit heard that line and fell silent. The Deathworld bomb was built using human technology stolen years ago. That was a true reveal. Smugglers used Earth designs because only Earth understood Deathworld physics. Mara touched the core, remembering her father's repairs. She did not use blaster. She used screwdriver and simple wire logic. The bomb was strong, yet it was human kind of strong, and she spoke its language. Outside the hall, Warden fought the troops alone, choosing Mara over its makers. Cut blue line after green, Mara whispered. T9 guided her hands. In last seconds, the core shut down completely. The red light died like tired eye. The valley speakers went silent forever. The troops realized their car was gone. Above the clouds, the Academy officers finally sent evacuation codes and emergency shuttles once wind softened. But when the pods landed, the class had already won the test by themselves. Mara Khan brought every cadet out of the tunnels. 90 frightened aliens became 90 living heroes because of one human leader and an engineer hunter that had learned mercy. The smugglers were arrested by Academy law, and orbit officers admitted openly, this planet trial belongs to humans. At sunrise, the class stood on the cliffs, watching the river shine. Lurax bowed to Mara. Human girl, saved the guard spirit. Mara looked at the yellow sky, at Warden resting like loyal dog, and repeated the first line of the story. Still feels like home. The aliens finally laughed with relief. They understood the contrast now. What was hell for the galaxy was normal life for Earth, and humans were born from such worlds. The galaxy would read this on Reddit for centuries under tag HFY. The drop had become legend,